on earth did 50 Cent and Netflix get a hold of P. Diddy's private footage for their documentary, and did they secure the legal rights to it? And then what happened with the demand letter that P. Diddy's lawyers sent to Netflix? Let's break it down. And if you are a content creator, pay very close attention to this. So P. Diddy hired a videographer to follow him around in New York and made a big deal ahead of his indictment. This is before the criminal trial started, probably realizing that he was going to do a documentary at some point. That footage ended up in the hands of Netflix and 50 Cent, and it's now the subject of the #1 best, most watched Netflix show. Now, Diddy's lawyers threatened to take legal action, saying that #1, there was no authorization to use the private footage. It also is defamation, according to Diddy's lawyers. So the first question is, who actually owns the legal rights to that footage? Under copyright law, the videographer owns the exclusive rights to the footage that the videographer filmed. However, if P. Diddy entered into a contract with the videographer to assign those rights to Diddy, then Diddy would own it. However, if P. Diddy didn't pay him or otherwise breached the contract with the videographer, then there's some debate there, and likely the videographer owns it. And the same goes for any confidentiality agreement that the videographer would have had with P. Diddy. Now, Netflix is protecting the identity of the videographer, so we don't know the details, and if there is a lawsuit, all of that could come out. Now, what about defamation liability that P. Diddy's lawyers threatened Netflix and 50 Cent with? For 50 Cent, I don't think he had much creative control. He was the producer, and most producers are not asserting creative control. And for Netflix, the liability for defamation is probably slim to nothing at all. And that's because #1, P. Diddy was going to have to prove that they published information with knowledge of falsity. That means they had facts in their hands that disproved what they published. Given the criminal history and everything that got unearthed in P. Diddy's trial, I doubt that there's any falsity here. But again, even if it's false, Netflix would have to know that it was false at the time they published it in order to have any sort of culpability. And what about the fact that P. Diddy's gonna have a hell of a time trying to prove damages here because of everything that happened in his criminal trial? There are also 70 separate civil lawsuits for SA allegations against P. Diddy. He also admitted in his criminal trial at the end, after he lost it, that, and I'm gonna quote, "Because of my decisions, I lost my freedom, and I lost my career, I totally destroyed my reputation." How are you gonna prove that anyone else did that to you, P. Diddy, when you did it to yourself? And by the way, P. Diddy is suing NBC Universal for defamation over their documentary called Making of a Bad Boy, and that's the exact defense that NBC Universal raised, is that your reputation was in the gutter, bro, and you absolutely can't prove that you were harmed.